Good afternoon, guys. I'm just above Laguna Beach, which you can see down there. About to go on a hike for more of the California coastal chaparral. Now, of course, Laguna Beach is north of San Diego in Orange County. It seems like a lot of the plants here are further along and recycle. And though a lot of the plants are the same, we're seeing a few things that are different, so let's jump right in. Firstly, as before, here's a lot of this Eriogonum fasiculatum growing everywhere. There we go, it's also in bloom here, and much more in leaf. Now, Eriogonum fasiculatum, as I said, is absolutely dominant everywhere here. It's this weird kind of shrubby plant that doesn't grow like your typical Eriogonums you find in Utah. There are shrubby Eriogonums in Utah, but they just look very different. It's hard to explain, but these ones are quite a lot taller and grow much denser. We also have this guy, which I was really glad to see. This is Encelia californica, the California Brittlebush. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but it is clearly a member of the family Asteraceae. It's big, yellow sunflower, kind of daisy-looking flower, and technically, actually, a capitulum, a cluster of flowers that has evolved to look like one big flower. But anyways, it has a close relative in the Mojave Desert, Encelia farinosa, which I'm hoping to see as I make some more videos there. Fingers crossed. Should be in bloom because we'll be in Death Valley, which is quite hot. But yeah, it's well in leaf. I didn't see much of it except at the parking lot when I was filming at the San Diego Wildlife Refuge. But yeah, let's carry on and see what else we can find. Now, another plant I'm excited to talk about, this is Salvia alpina. It's known as the white sage. It's a shrubby salvia, which is in the family Lamiaceae. It is the largest genus in Lamiaceae with, I think, over 1,000 species, the bulk of which are found in the Americas, especially in South America and Central America, though a few wander up into the United States proper. And one of them is this species. These big white leaves that are no doubt covered in some soft, downy pubescence. It's a bit of a funny word, but that's just what you call soft, downy hairs on plants. And it can get quite tall. I've seen some with shoots that are like over my head, but I think normally they're more around this size. And though they're not in flower yet, it would be really cool to see what they look like. So I always love flowers in the mint family. They always look really cool to me. Now, just behind it, we got some Artemisia californica, the California coastal sagebrush, another one I talked about already, but it's quite abundant here and seems to be doing very well. It's very happy. Sure has loved the rain it's been getting because it was very dry in Southern California in like January. Another thing to know about this is that I think most of the salvias are herbaceous, although this one is very clearly woody. See its woody stem down there. So I'm happy to see that, as always. I think it's always really cool when you get some plants that are typically herbaceous that evolve to be more woody. So I do like it for that, but it's just a cool plant in general and it looks really neat. Well, I think now is as good of a time as any to talk about the California floristic province, because even though I talked about it last video, I don't think I explained it very well, and you guys are all going to be new viewers anyways. I don't retain audience, so I might as well just jump into it. But anyways, the California floristic province is a broad area of high plant biodiversity and species endemism centered over the state of California. Now, it doesn't occupy all of California, and it's found in parts of it are found outside of California. It extends from very southwestmost Oregon, well, not exactly the redwood forest, through much of California, including the Central Valley, the Sierra foothills, most of the coast ranges, and sort of the coastal plain into northwest Baja, California. It excludes the California deserts and the Sierra Nevada mountains, though some people might include it. I think that's a bit erroneous, but either way, it's an area of very high plant biodiversity, as I said before, and it all comes down due to its Mediterranean climate, because although we think it feels pretty nice, it's actually a pretty tough climate for many plants to grow in, and it fosters a lot of evolution to survive the climate, because essentially what the Mediterranean climate is you have high levels of drought in the summer. It's a very dry summer climate it can be quite hot with mild rainy winter. So the fact that the wet season or the rainy season is on the cold part of the year, while the dry season is the hottest part of the year, means that plants have to be adapted to grow when they normally like to be dormant and have to withstand really incredibly dry conditions during the the summer months. They have to basically be desert plants that are adapted to a cold, rainy winter. It's not easy for a lot of plants to do, and as a result, A lot of plants are found open niches here to evolve and radiate into many different species. And further aiding this is that there's quite a lot of different soil substrate diversity here. So all the serpentine, but also a whole bunch of different types of soils that plants could evolve on. So overall, we now have a very highly biodiverse place, and California has about 2,500 plant species that are found nowhere else on Earth. And the entire California floristic province has a few thousand more, I think, that are endemic when you include, Southwest Oregon and Northwest Baja California. I thought it was good. I'll probably film the sea. Continuing inland, go up down these hills, the plants are changing a bit. We still got a lot of Eriogonum, fasiculatum, and Artemisia californica. We're getting a few more things. Other shrubs are kind of interesting. Here's that Acmispon species I talked about, a member of the family Fabaceae. You can see it's a better view of its yellow Fabaceae flowers. They're commonly called lotuses, although I think there's also a genus called lotus that this was split off from that. Might be more proper to call lotuses these days. Lotus is an interesting genus because it's not the same one as it's a different scientific name than what the common name lotus normally refers to, which is this kind of weird water lily-like plant, while the lotus genus is a member of the family Fabaceae, completely unrelated. And we're also getting some cacti above. They seem to have disappeared for a second. I might have to film it on my way back during this trail. Okay, here's another cool one. I talked about Salvia alpina, the white sage, but this is Salvia mellifera, the black sage. I thought it was a member of the sunflower family at first, looking at these old seed heads, which look a lot like the capitula of Asteraceae, but you can notice that the stem is running through some of them, and maybe there's some members of Asteraceae that have evolved to have the stem continue right through the capitula, but I've never seen that before. So I think it's much more likely, I know it is, but my intuition would tell me, without knowing, that this is definitely not Asteraceae. And it's not. It is, once again, Salvia mellifera, a member of the family Lamiaceae. Another shrubby salvia that's adapted to the chaparral climate. I think I like the look of alpina more, but they're both really cool plants, and this one's quite an impressive bush. And here, another one you can't not talk about. This is Rhus integrifolia, also known as lemonade berry. Unlike most Rhuses, it has leaves that are entire and not trifoliate or pinnately compound. The fruit are edible, though the ones I've seen have not looked very appealing. They look kind of gross and muddy, but maybe you just wash them or make a jam out of them. I don't know. A very common plant throughout the chaparral. Think of all of Southern California and actually going into Northern California. There are a few kinds of common plant distributions you can find in the California floristic province. Like there's sort of a southern coastal plains one. Like some plants are really only be found from like Santa Barbara south to Los Angeles and San Diego on the sort of low coastal area in Southern California and into northern Baja. Some others are found in that same region, but also into Northern California along the coast ranges, like around San Francisco and further north. And then some that are found in that region, but also in the Sierra foothills where it gets quite a lot hotter, but not that much colder in the winter. It can get a little chilly and frosty, but it won't be ever that bad. Yeah, that's some pretty common ones. Some that also only found like the Sierra foothills. But it varies by species to species. No two species are going to have exactly the same distribution throughout an area. Speaking more broadly, the California floristic province. Let's look how nice these foothills look. In summertime, they look really brown, but right now in March, it looks so amazing. But anyways, the California floristic province is most closely related to the flora of the rest of the desert southwest and highlands of Mexico, sort of Madrian flora, or Madrian floral subkingdom, if you want to. I think it's Takachan's, I can't remember his name, sorry, his floristic Phytochorian series. People are going to argue about what's most appropriate to classify the biogeography of plants, but I think his system still kind of reigns supreme, even though it's not the most accurate. Let's carry on. All right, now this is a bit more of what I was talking about. This is Opuntia littoralis, the coastal prickly pear, They can get quite large and almost tree-like, maybe even more so than Opuntia chlorotica. But it does grow in the California floristic region. I believe it's an endemic of the place. The other Opuntia you can find here is Opuntia auricula, but that one has almost circular pads, and I think it's more lower down and scrubby growing. I mean, this is pretty scrubby, but it can get quite tall and thick at like. I don't want it too far off trail, but. So you wouldn't want to fall on one of these. Right here, it's just more Artemisia californica. It definitely seems to be the most dominant plant around these parts. While lower down or in drier places, it's Eriogonum fasiculatum. We both definitely dominate the very coastal, scrubby kind of chaparral you find in the California floristic region. Now, I don't know what this shrubby plant is. I mean, it's definitely a member of the family Asteraceae, as you can see from its flower there. But I'm more interested in this silly string kind of crap growing all over it. That is definitely a species of Cuscuta, also known as Dodders, spelled D-O-D-D-E-R. It's a parasitic member of the family Convolvulaceae, but it used to be classified in its own family. I don't know what species it is, but it's likely a native one. There's a native one in Hawaii too, which I think I talked about in one of my videos. But yeah, it just grows all over the plants, and I think sends some like haustorial kind of root into the tissue to suck out the nutrients, which is pretty neat. It can really harm some plants, but this one seems to be doing fine for now. It's probably adapted to being parasitized a little bit. Yeah, make sure I'm zoomed or focused properly. I'm trying to work on that some more. Hope I'm hitting all the good notes on this video, not holding the camera steady. Not tilted, talking clearly, and not breathing heavy. But it's very difficult sometimes, as I'll keep reminding you until I finally get it all down. Here we just have a really nice view of some of the back canyons of Laguna Wilderness Park. And way out in the distance we can see, man, that black slate smells really nice. Anyways, way out in the distance, see sort of interior Orange County. That brings up an important point about the climate of the California floristic region, which is that though the winter temperatures are always pretty mild, I mean that's sort of a definition of Mediterranean, that the winters never get too cold, or at least one of the big definitions. But maybe in the Sierra foothills they get a little chilly, but the summer temperatures vary a lot more, summer highs at least, because it's like right along the coast where you get the wind off the cool California current that's so chilly from all the upwelling that happens. You get high temperatures of like 80 in the summer. Just like 10 miles inland in say like Irvine, it could get up to 95 on the same day. And it gets even worse the further inland you go, especially in Southern California, because the sun beats down harder on the land. But it's just crazy. It's important to know. And of course in Northern California, you have to go further inland to get the same temperatures, but like even just into the Central Valley, which is part of the California floristic province and does have a Mediterranean climate, you can get like regularly highs of like over 100 degrees. There's a lot of microclimate action going on here too, which helps increase the plant biodiversity. Alright, another classic species you can't not talk about, especially in Southern California. This is Malosma laurina. It is a member of the family Anacardiaceae, which is indeed the poison ivy family or cashew family. And like both of those plants, I'm pretty sure it has urushiol on it, because I mean these leaves are so stained brown, or black, which only really happens when you get the urushiol exposed there. I mean, there's a few things that cause it, but it is a family Anacardiaceae, and that's happening. It's a pretty safe assumption, so I don't want to touch it really at all. Well, maybe well, just for fun. How about that? I think it'll be fine. But anyways, very cool plant. It's the only member of the genus Malosma. The California floristic province is also host to a lot of endemic genera. And that was just found, from like Santa Barbara until the Los Angeles area and down to northwest Baja California. South of the California floristic region, portion of the Baja California Peninsula is the Vizcaíno Desert, which has a bit of a similar climate, but just much drier. Rainfall in the winter is very sporadic, especially right in the center of the peninsula. And but does fall primarily in the winter. And however, that being said, the precipitation is supplemented by a very high level of oceanic fog. And once you get into Baja California Sur, again on the western side, that desert was replaced by the Magdalena Desert, which is quite different and has more summer rainfall, less, but still some fog. And yeah, as you start to slowly get wetter until and more tropical and more like the climate of Mexico and Central America until you reach the end of the peninsula. It's a cool interplay of climates. I wish you could go to Baja because it's got quite a lot of endemic plant species. I'm sure Joey Santor taught you all that as well, but there really is a ton of biodiversity there. It's like almost like a little extension of Mexico. I mean, that's exactly what it is, and it's allowed, the fact that it's separated by the Gulf of Colorado, Gulf of Colorado has allowed a lot of different unique species to evolve there. Right, I just want to keep hiking. I'm not going to get a lot of hikes on this trip because it's been so rainy and the trails were closed. I really wanted to go to Torrey Pines, for instance. Maybe do a hike through, if I could, one of the areas that was burned by the wildflowers, or fire, not to see the wildfires, not to see like the devastation necessarily of houses, because I think that's a little disrespectful, but I want to see how nature's recovering, because that's their thing to talk about, the California flora. Much of it is adapted to burn in the summer. More plant I can't not talk about. This is Coyote Brush, also known as Baccharis pilaris. It is a member of the family Asteraceae, and one thing that's important to know about all Baccharises is that they are dioecious, so they have separate male and female flowers. Can't really see them right now, but this plant is fairly distinctive and it's got some distinctive leaves that are kind of small and shaped like this. Little teeth on them. Now, there are quite a lot of species of Baccharis throughout the world, but in California, at least in the floristic region, that are two main ones, well actually three, but the two main ones you'll find growing in dry land are this one and Baccharis staurophoides, which is more southern California and into the deserts as well. They're a little hard to tell apart, but you can kind of do it by firstly looking at the leaves, because the leaves on this one tend to be a lot larger, more kind of club or spade shaped like this. While staurophoides, I mean, it's kind of funny to use a different species to use an example, but their branches look more like this, except a little longer. In fact, you rarely even see the leaves on them, so you really sort of get this sort of broom-like appearance to them. In fact, it's often called desert broom because of that, but either way, both are important species. I saw more of a staurophoides down in San Diego and didn't really see any of this. At least I hope so. Hope I didn't mix them up, but there's no doubt quite a lot of other plants here that I could find, but it might be the wrong season for them to be found because they might not be in bloom yet, or they've already passed bloom. But either way, I'm probably going to wrap this video up now, but it is important to know that, once again, the California floristic region is highly diverse. I'm only just barely scratching the surface with this video and a couple others I've made, especially since a lot of the species have overlapped. But either way, there's tons of species out here. Some are only endemic to like a few mountains or a single mountain range or one little tiny area, especially after how much of the habitat here has been degraded. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching and see you next time. I'm glad I looked back on the way down the trail because I wouldn't have seen this otherwise. This is Dudleya edulis. I think it's edulis. It's certainly a species of Dudleya, which is a member of the family Crassulaceae. The main genus in there is Sedum, at least if you're in North America, but there's also this one, which does have most of its diversity in California for sure. Cool genus of succulents. More in Mexico, you get the genus Echeverium, which is related, but again, more adapted to like the summer wet, winter dry, as opposed to the summer dry, winter wet of California. Cool plant. It's a cool family. You don't see a whole lot of it aside from the sedums, as I said, at least in North America, but there's quite a lot of Dudleyas out here.